is going on, people? Welcome. Johnny here, and we are going to start a new RimWorld playthrough. Here is a look at the mods. This episode is going to be game setup, so if you want to get into gameplay, just go ahead and skip episode 0 and jump into episode 1. Some of the things we're doing, it's going to be a dwarf scenario, but it's going to be a dwarf going to space. So we're going to use one of the Rimhammer the End Times dwarfs, and we're going to send him to space. So the Rimhammer mod series is what I've been working on. The key here is the Rimhammer the End Times With Guns mod, and then the Beastmen mod requires magic. So we're going to add the Beastmen as well, but we're going to try and get to space. So I've cooked up a little custom scenario, so we'll get to that. Some of these things are just quality of life, color, mood, mod switch. I have a few things going on, so I use that, but that's not really pertinent. Pick up and haul. These two are fun, Camera Plus and Follow Me, so I like to include those. Mine it all makes things easier. Celsius and Fahrenheit, you get the idea. For those that don't use Fahrenheit as we do here, you'll be able to tell the temperature. Mine it all, I love. Alien races is required by dwarfs and beastmen. Dwarfs require doors expanded injects tools. I'm also adding embrasures. I'm torn on them. They're as much a liability as an asset, in all honesty. Harvest designators, just to deal with the blight issues. We're going to add the Adeptus Mechanicus Armory because it adds a ton of weapons, and I think it'll be a lot of fun to have dwarfs running around with really badass futuristic Warhammer weapons, so it seems to make sense. We're going for sort of a squats thing. The Maraf 1.0 is also a mod that I have made. That was the first mod I ever made, so I'm going to include that. Dismiss Trader. Alright, Real Runes is going to be the other fun one that I'm adding here. So it's a double-edged sword because you end up with all these things laying around that you can go get or that are just on your map. So they do add to your wealth, which causes harsher raids sooner. So let's just get into it. I've created a custom scenario. It's a solo dwarf, naked. He might start with clothes, depending on what type of pawn he is, but he won't have anything. A little bit of research that makes sense for dwarves to have, and then the theme of the playthrough is that something magical happened, shoved him through a portal. So he went from the old world, the old Warhammer world, into some different world. He doesn't know where he is. So we're going to do Merciless Randy, 100%, and squats. Anybody that's a Warhammer nerd will catch that reference. So I'm going to go ahead and generate the world here. In the meantime, cheers to the patrons. Dirtle Dave, Cornel B, JT, Seamus, Lieutenant Dan, and Michael Rakestraw. You guys are fantastic. Also, Ertman for buying me some coffees over on Ko-Fi. I put a lot of time into these The End Times mods, trying to make your RimWorld experience more Warhammery, and those guys help me out by supporting me. The rest of you, toss me a like. Come on, give me some support. It'd be great. I'd be a little more motivated. Although I already put tons of hours into this every day. Alright, so we have a map. I'd like to go back and hit it a tick colder. I think that'll add just a little bit of red. You can see we have Chaos Waste in the north, Chaos Waste in the south. There's some settings in the End Times mod that you can control how far south the Chaos Waste go, or if you even have Chaos Waste at all. So yeah, let's hit this down a notch. Overall rainfall, I'm going to let that generate as is. Alright, there we have it. Now, I'm going to cruise around and pick a decent spot. Seems like with the dwarf mod, you can settle in the impassable tiles if you're so inclined. I'm not going to do that, I don't think. It makes for a very different game. Kind of hoses up the sieges too. They just don't seem to, they don't have a spot to land, so they don't come in right, they don't work right. But I'm going to pick a spot here, and then we'll talk about it once I do. One thing to note, there are other dwarf bases on the map. The scenario theme, I could remove the factions, I guess, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to go ripping apart the dwarf mod just for a playthrough. Plus then nobody would be able to duplicate it. I will save off the initial save file and link to that in the description. so that if you want to give this one a go. The Beastman mod is not released yet, but it will be within the next couple weeks here. Just finishing up the AI for the magic, which has proved to be a real beast of a project. So I think I'm gonna avoid a mountainous tile. Maybe we'll do large hills, because I've done mountain tiles with every single dwarf playthrough I've done. Some of the online ones and my own. So that's getting a little stale for me. I'd also like to be where there's bases nearby so we could actually do some trading. That'd be great. And since we're starting with nothing, you want to preferably be more near the equator so you don't freeze your cojones off right away, but I guess it is what it is. Alright, so we're going to end up down here in a cold bog. Right there. Small hills. Gets really cold, and those cold snaps will take it well below 0, and it also gets relatively warm. So let's jump in and figure out. The only reason I'm going to start with a male pawn is because I want to do it with a beard. That's all there is for it. His finger's bitten off. I'm going to futz around a little bit. We clearly need somebody that's capable of most everything. So this guy's a possibility. Some of these dudes are great, but he's missing a finger. He's abrasive as well. This dude's industrious, ascetic, and abrasive. 2 of those are really good for us. Doesn't do dumb labor. Well, that's not going to work. You see, I don't have prepare carefully going. And some of these pawns are just insanely good. I'm trying to find somebody who's not too tough. I mean, that has nothing to do with the tough trait. This guy's insanely good. We're going to find somebody else that's going to make it more of a challenge. Alright, I think we're going to go with this guy. He's got good stuff here, but the skills we're really going to need up front. Construction, pretty crap. I don't know. I looked through a ton of them and had a bunch of possibilities here, but I don't want him to be too tough. Maybe I should go add prepare carefully so I can tone these guys down a bit. That wouldn't be a bad play. Alright, that's a little better. So, I didn't tweak with any of his likes and dislikes, his passions. I just reduced everything, some of it as much as I could. Some of it I left alone, but now he's a much more tame pawn. So he's a beardling dreamer. So as a child he was a dreamer, and as an adult he was a tinkerer. I gave him a sweet beard. I don't even know what hair he has here. Let's see. Fancy dwarven hair. Perfect. 165 is his age. I gave him annoying voice. This one was there, psychically dull, and he was tough, so I swapped that out for kind. So I think we're all set. So let's jump in. Alright, we've landed. This is going to be where we set up home. There's some real ruins nearby. Ooh, look at that. Again, we get boned by these things a bit because it's things on the map that are worth something. I don't see too many of them. I've never used the Real Ruins mod before, so these are all in a marsh. That's interesting. You also notice I named him Ertman. Ertman bought me a handful of coffees. Hey, what is this? He's not supposed to have anything. I'll probably delete this stuff, make the initial save, and then jump into episode 1. Like I said, Ertman bought me several coffees, so Ertman gets the honor of this guy's name. Going forward, they will be named after my patrons. So, alright, tune in to episode 1 to see how this goes.